Uh, Today's Thursday. Thursday recap type shit. Uh, yeah. So today we actually had some Red Folder news. We haven't seen any Red Folder news since Friday last week. So it's been a minute, but we had an 8:30 drop. No data lows or highs. We already swept that. I am looking into maybe taking some pre-market trades if there's an 8:30 news release because usually there's a move between like 8:30 and 9:30 that I can usually take. And also it that's like the first injection of volatility really. Because the New York session starts at 8 a.m. and so that's usually like when it starts, but if it's an 8:30 news release, then that's what brings the volatility. 9:30 brings more, obviously, but yeah, I feel like that can be an opportunity that I can starting to look at. But yeah, just going into the daily bias for the day. Um, so we're in this range, right? ES is at all-time highs right here. But as you can see, this high right here, which is Monday's high, ES already swept and NQ didn't. So going into it, already had an SMT. But something to note is Nasdaq kept trading up into this after the S&T was already formed. So you could see, like, since we are in a bullish market right now, we can definitely see these highs being taken out, maybe. But you need to keep in mind that we had Asia put in the low, and then London expansion continuation, and then ES swept the high. So that's either you can either see a New York continuation or a New York reversal. So just wanted to see how 9:30 opened, see what we wanted to do. Because I would be down for more longs, but to keep in mind, we didn't have any retracements overnight really, because the move happened overnight. Barely any retracements, and so all these are failure swings, low resistance liquidity. So if I were to see longs, I would need to see, stop rate and then start to see some displacement to the upside. Um, or if we're bearish, get some sort of market structure shift and then see price lower. Um, but yeah, so yeah, just to show you, London had a huge move, right? Asia had a small move though, so there's still a potential for a decent amount of move, and we did get a decent move. So basically, just waiting for market to open and see what it wants to do. But real quick, I do want to go over like potentially what I could have taken today. Um, yeah, for this pre-market trade. This is the data candle that came out. We swept liquidity up here and we didn't sweep anything down here, but we had an SMT. Uh, and I wanted to see from this SMT, since technically data lows are swept, if we wanted to displace higher and go up to these data highs, because we have been pumping up since last night. So we do get displacement, right? Inverse these gaps. But I wanted this to see a market structure shift, which would have been right here, and this fat fair value gap would have been the entry. You know, we have this inversion, the highest premium array in this leg. We inverse that gap. We have a fair value gap laying over it, and also the market structure shift right there. So your entry could have been this fair value gap. Stops below this border block. And TP could have been right here, first TP, and then you could have held it for longer. Uh, yeah, I would have taken probably like just because it's like it's a little scalp basically, so I would have risked probably like 500, came out like 600 or something. But yeah, so pre-market, that's what we were offered. And now just playing price from market open right here. As you can see, we are displacing lower. So you want to see maybe this is a Judas swing or something, manipulation to the downside, and then we see upwards. But um, from this doesn't look like manipulation because we kept going down. This is just distribution. This is just showing us that the draw it's seeking liquidity lower. Um, so yeah, we had that, right? And off of this, right, we swept this low right here, and we also had an SMT at this low inside of this premium array. So if you were to long, you could definitely long this if we see rejection out of it, which I believe we did see some rejection. Yeah, we got a change in the state right here. No SMT at the lows though, which is a little bit of a bummer, but we did get it a little bit later in the leg, I believe. Um, yeah, so just looking at higher time frame, right? We do have this smaller for value gap that we end up opening, and then this 5 minute for value gap. Uh, I'll mark it out just so you can see. Mark out both of them and my thought process behind it. I want to see these hit at least if we were to long, because I don't know if we want to, take out this high or if we're displacing lower from now. Um, so yeah, just waiting on some sort of, manipulation, and we get an SMT put in right here. So I want to see this upwards candle get disrespected, and that would be a change in the state with an SMT, and that could be an entry. We did not tap into this 5 minute, so let's just play price. Change in the state, boom, right? Entry could have been right there, stops at the low of the SMT, and then TP would have been that 5 minute for value gap. So, a small scalp. Um, Realistically, you could have brought up a little bit like here, but um, there is always the potential to get stopped out like that. This is the protected low, so price shouldn't go below this. It can still come into here. Consider this an imbalance because of the long wick, and fill in the CE and then reject off. So that's the only valid spot to put your stop loss. Just playing price. We get tagged in right there, right? And then we hit this 5 minute for rally gap, and then we rejected back down, hitting that change of state of delivery again. It is a small 5 minute gap. So if I wanted to see us reject, it would be from here really. But if we happen to be really bullish, we could just come into this small imbalance and then reject from there. So realistically, I would not have taken this trade just because that 5 minute balance we could reject from because there isn't a crazy amount of volume that is showing that we want to go to the upside. Um, yeah, so we do end up hitting it. But yeah, that would be a riskier trade. But just the S&T and change in state did work again in this scenario. Um, so now we hit this 5 minute gap, right? And if you want to look out a little bit, we did sweep this. We have an SMT. We're in a 15 minute for value gap. All good for longs, but we need to keep in mind that the daily profile is bearish because that high is already taken. We don't need to go up here. And since we saw this displacement down, we have this breaker block right here. So if I wanted to see shorts, I would want to see displacement from this 5 minute, or if we come up to this breaker displacement from there, that would have been the better entry. But I wasn't still confident if he wanted to, keep going higher yet, or if this was the turning point right here. So just waiting on price to do its thing, right? Blah blah blah. As you can see, going up too, there wasn't any strong displacement candle or elephant in the pool displacement. There's no the water kind of stayed in the pool, but a little bit maybe flowed out. There's no like displacement of the water, if you know what I mean, right? But we did tap into this breaker block right here. ES had the same exact setup, this 5 minute gap, and then also a breaker block right here. So we're correlated in that aspect. And then I just wanted to see what we would do from here. Uh, since there was no liquidity swept, this high doesn't necessarily need to be swept, but it would be a safer entry. But yeah, no liquidity was swept, so technically this isn't a safe high, but if price were to, sharply displace from here, it doesn't necessarily need to sweep this again, which we do see with this next candle. So yeah, we're in this 15-minute unicorn setup, right? well, it will be a 5 minute, 15-minute breaker block, but 5 minute for value gap. So a 5 minute unicorn setup. We see this displacement candle, and this is when I see that, okay, we're going short, you know? We had this huge displacement slowly trickled up, not a lot of displacement to the upside. And then as soon as we hit where we would see rejection if we were bearish, we get huge displacement. That's your entry, right? You want to see if the fair value gap opens up, ends up opening up right there. My entry. It did take me a little bit to enter, but I got lucky. Because price did come back into the fair value gap, create an SMT on a lower time frame, and then tag me in. So I do need to be quicker with that. But uh yeah. So first TP was this low right here, and then second TP would have been these London lows. Um London lows, which like it really isn't a valid liquidity point, really. So what I did pay attention to though was this was midnight open, and midnight opening price is a pretty good place to draw. Um, Let me just mark this as midnight open, not open, open. I'll make it dotted, and I'll make it black and skinny. Okay. I don't know why I said it like that, but yeah. So midnight open, yeah, it's aligned up with that London low. So I thought that was a good final TP. That would have been my final TP right there. So yeah, let's see if price gets me filled. Yeah, we get filled right there, right? So I'll just do about what I was in. Price goes down, taps back in, and then we get that displacement, and we're displacing pretty strongly through that, as you can see. At this time, there is an SMT, but ES sweeps it almost right away. So right here, I took off pretty big size of my position. I'm starting to take off a lot more on my first CP just because I've been realizing that well, so the election is coming up, so like the market is just gonna keep slowing down and slower until we get to the election. Then after the election, I expect us to be normal again, maybe even better than usual. But yeah, price just isn't hitting the final TPs as it usually does. So I'm taking keep my TPs a little earlier. So I bought, I believe, about like 2/3 of my position right there. And then yeah, final TP was there, stops at break even. And then just want to play price, see what we do, right? So we come into this fair value gap. Um, I'm trying to remember where I added onto my position. I'm not going to add on this because I don't exactly remember, but I will remember in a second. Okay, yeah, right here. So we created another SMT inside this fair value gap, and then we get a change in the state. So I add just one micro right there. So I sell another. And I'm perfectly fine with my stops right here. I have to say that I expect this for value gap. I expect us to go down now because of that SMT and then the change in the state right here. So I expect us to drop now and drop fast to this for value gap. Um, and like also my fill got like crazy messed up because instead of adding one micro, it added four. And then so it's like, oh shit, so I sold all four that I put in, and then it made my fill like in the middle right here. And so then I was like down 10 ticks, even though my fill should have still been like up here. So it like super fucked up my shit, and I didn't want to be in that much anyways, and also with that terrible fill. So I just got out completely. It didn't end up going to my final target, but if it did, I would have been really tight because I would have been like double what I took off right here probably. Yeah, we ended up chopping, and then we just came back up. Uh, but yeah, so that was a dub right there. But I also want to go over something I saw right here. This is also an area where we can reject, right? Because we had this low, we swept out this low, right? And then we're still in this 15-minute fair value gap. This short-term low got swept, right? And then as soon as that short-term low got swept again from this external low, we see an SMT, and then we see a change in the state. Just wondering if this would work out, right? It does, it tags us in right at the change in the state, taps it perfectly, dots below this order block, and TP would have been this 1 minute for value gap, 2.6. Yeah. There is an instance where we had this SMT right here, then change in the state. This is where I added onto my position. If this was an entry in itself, it would not have worked. Um, but then again, like also you have to take in the context. We are in a place where we can definitely reject from, and also we're in a huge discount in this leg. So unless you're like 2000% that the draw is 100% right here, like this is a sell model and this is the final TP to for price to go. This is a terrible entry. You want to be taking your entries low in the leg, right? We're low in the leg, entry low, and then we get into the premium, take our profits right here, and then price, rejects from there. So, uh, yeah, I'm gonna need to start actually trading with like micros even or like maybe like $100, $100 risk with the change in the state SMT because otherwise I'm never gonna gain confidence with it unless I actually put risk on the table. But I've seen it work like these past 2 days a lot. Um, and like they're basically the entries that I would take before the 2022 model. So let's say I take this, right? I get, half a position or something, and then I just add on to my position when the 22 model like happens, then I'm doubling my risk, my profit gained, but I'm keeping my stop loss this the same. Well, like not the same, the original spot, but I can move up my stop loss with the 2022 model. So the amount of risk, the amount of money that I'm risking is the same, but my profit will be doubled. So um yeah, I'm gonna start, I think, implementing that. Uh, and I didn't look at anything else because I already had my win. When I get my win, I just get off. Um, but yeah, no, today was a pretty good day. I have to keep in mind, to always, keep in mind daily profile. Daily profile is so, so, so important. It literally tells you where the market is gonna go that day. And, if you see the conferences like align with it, bro, don't fade it. Just, take the trades with it. Um, and yeah, overall today was a pretty good day. Price action was clean. And I don't know about tomorrow because tomorrow the option contracts expire. And so price is just gonna probably consolidate. So we'll see how that goes tomorrow. But yeah, that's it for today.